Hey guys, it's Nathan. Just thought I would share a story of how I was able to make $79,000 per month at age 21. It was actually from my parents' bedroom, and it was about the third company that I'd ever set up. So it was also the first ever software as a service company that I set up, and it's a pre-packaged SaaS, and they actually still sell them. It was from a website called CodeCanyon, which is like a marketplace for almost anything digital, for software, for website templates, for WordPress templates, for video templates, various different things. And they actually you can still use it now. You can search in SaaS, and it will show you a number of sort of pre-built SaaS software apps that you can buy, and then you can buy what's called an extended license, and they will give you the right for you to go and sell it on to almost like a not quite white label, because you actually own the service. So you install it on your own server, and all the customers are yours. You plug in your own like Stripe keys, etc., and so on. So almost like a self-hosted white label service, let's call it. But you're also completely free to make any adjustments to the code base if you want. So the business was a Instagram post scheduling and sort of automation software platform. This was back in, how old would I have been? It was about 5 years ago, about probably 2016, 2017, when I first set this up. And it was at like a good time for Instagram automation. There weren't so many blocks. It was a very popular way and very successful way of growing Instagram accounts. So this software allowed you to do like post scheduling. It allowed you to do automated liking, automated comments, automated follow, reposting, automatically sending direct messages to new followers. So it was, and it worked. And there were quite a lot of sort of different use cases, basically, from what I mentioned, from like social media managers to perhaps an e-commerce store who want to send like a discount code to all of their new subscribers. So there were some interesting ways to promote this. And to start off with, it also came with like its own landing page as well, a terrible landing page, but which is also how I first actually got into conversion rate optimization. So to start off with, I was selling this software at about $5 per month. And to bring in customers, I was promoting it on Reddit. So I would do a little, not hack, but it's like a little bit black hat. I would go and leave a comment on like specific threads and like social media, in social media subreddits, where someone would ask, what is like the best Instagram promotion? What's the best way to grow an Instagram account? Or what's the best way to get real followers? Or how can I automatically schedule posts? And so I would go and I would use like Google X-ray search to find these Reddit threads. And then I would leave a comment from one account saying, I've been using, like the company was named Social Growth. So it would be, I've been using Social Growth. So it's me leaving these comments. And then what I would do is or I had multiple Reddit accounts, I would then upvote the comments to get them into like position number 1. So I've explained this before, but just to explain again. So it would look like it has a lot of social proof and that a lot of people are agreeing with that this is like a great solution. And I would also leave it from like multiple accounts. So they would like sort of keep seeing the same name popping up multiple times. So in like one thread, these threads would get a lot of search traffic as well. Reddit ranks incredibly well on Google. So you can be a bit creative with like the marketing there. Anyway, I was able to get I remember getting about 100 customers from it, and it's not like explosive growth. It's more like sort of steady. You will consistently bring in maybe 3 or 4 customers per day. So in the space of a month, I was able to bring on about 100 customers doing this. Not full-time, I hadn't actually had a full-time job at the same time as well. So just in my spare time, I'd be leaving these comments on Reddit. So I was bringing in about $500 per month, bearing in mind this was like a terrible landing page as well. It was actually quite a good result. and but I would constantly see my competitors were running Google Ads campaigns. And when you see a competitor running Google Ads campaigns, it sort of tells you, particularly over like a long period of time. So I'd been in the Instagram growth space for about eight, no, longer than that, but about a year actually on like a separate business. And I also had about 40,000 followers myself at the time. So I would constantly see specific names popping up and advertising themselves on Google for as an Instagram growth service. And of course, you know that they're paying to be in position number one. So it basically tells you that they have a profitable campaign running, that they're making money from it. So I went ahead and made my own Google Ads campaign, my first ever Google Ads campaign. And I think like most people, I spent about $100, I didn't get any sales, and I decided Google Ads doesn't work, which is completely wrong. But I think a lot of people will have been there, particularly if like you don't have someone in the space, sort of sitting in the Google Ads marketing space, or any like traffic buying experience doesn't tell you no, that's completely normal, like you'll lose money, you're just buying data. So for anyone out there, if your competitors are running Google Ads over a long period of time, it means they're making money. And if you're not able to get it profitable, it means the problem is either your campaign or your landing page. It's going to be one of the two. There's a very small chance that your competitors are consistently spending money on an ads campaign they're not making money on. So as a general rule for myself, now I will say I will test with about $2,000 any new ads campaign I set up. I'm sort of prepared to lose about $2,000. Sometimes I'll break even, sometimes I'll be profitable straight away. It sort of depends on like the industry, how well you know the industry, and like in some cases there's even like a little bit of luck involved, like is there a lot of competition and so on. So there are factors that are out of your control. But generally be okay with losing money in order to test a paid acquisition channel. It's completely normal and it's completely fine. But I didn't have that understanding at that point in time. So I spent $100 and I was very upset that I didn't get any customers in, which is my own like incorrect thinking. So for about another month, I just continued like promoting on Reddit. I would do a bit of like email outreach and so on. But then I just sort of thought like, why are these guys always spending money on Google Ads if they're not making money? So I went back to Google Ads and I was able to get a profitable campaign going. At that point, I offered a 3-day free trial as well. So it would require a credit card up front to gain access to the 3-day free trial. And I also, at that point in time, I knew HTML and CSS, so I built out a second landing page and I put that up. And I also quadrupled the pricing, which I put as $19 or $20, I can't remember the exact amount, but about $20 starting price. Then the next one was $60 and the next one was $99, which meant when I was running Google Ads, I had a lot more space to become profitable, to actually make money. So because I could afford to spend more to acquire a customer. And I ran a campaign and I set target CPA to $20. I adjusted the keywords quite a bit and I had a profitable campaign running. Every day I was bringing in about 30 new customers, and that's when like the growth really started. And that went on for like a couple of weeks, and I'd started dating a girl who, she wasn't in business or anything like that. She was just like, not in business at all. She worked in fashion as a fashion designer, but she said to me, "It sounds cheap. Why don't you try doubling the pricing? Like, why don't you double it, make it like $40?" That's exactly what I did. And I just thought, okay, why not? Let me just test it. I doubled the price and expecting the number of sales to go down, but seeing if I could get it to work, and that's not what happened. The conversion rate actually went up by me doubling the price with no fundamental changes to the product at all. People are literally buying the same thing. So I can't give the exact reason why that happened, but to guess, I would say it's something to do with trust. Before I was trying to like undercut the market, and I thought that that was a great strategy to come in as like a cheaper option. But people often associate price with quality, so it could be a good reason that people saw my like $5 offer as something that was too good to be true and looked like a scam. So by increasing the price up to, which I brought up to, in the end, $39 starting price, $39.79.99. I think was the final pricing that I stuck with. Definitely $39.79. It actually increased the number of sales and, of course, the revenue that I was receiving. So by that point, I was in like a really, really good point. It was very, very cheap to deliver the service, and the only cost that I had was Google Ads. So my sole focus was on a mixture of optimizing the ads campaign and conversion rate optimization, which is really how I actually started in conversion rate optimization, because one day I was able to, by just changing the landing page, I was able to double the conversion rate, which was like a fantastic result for me, which again just meant I was just making even more money. So in the space of less than 90 days, it was just under 3 months, I was able to take this business from $500 per month to $79,000 per month using Google Ads and website optimization. They were the only two channels that I used. I had a little bit of email automation for checkout abandonment and so on. Very, very simple automations. And yeah, I would have been on schedule to make about $2.5 million in profit that year. Unfortunately, there was a unforeseen change of events. I had become one of the biggest Instagram growth agencies, Instagram growth services in the space. I was managing, it was about 3,000 or 4,000 active customers, I believe, and towards the end of it, I actually took on at one point 93 new customers in a day, and because the numbers were just going up and up, and if I was able to maintain that, I would have been very, very rich. Unfortunately, as I said, I became one of the biggest Instagram growth services on the market. I was probably the second biggest, and that put a target on our back. From Instagram, I received a cease and desist letter directly from Facebook's lawyers, with some very strong threats, and I showed this to my own lawyer, who basically said you just don't stand a chance. She said even if you want to fight this, they will just bankrupt you in paperwork. It's absolutely nothing for Facebook to spend 1 or 2 million to make an example of you, to scare off all the other Instagram growth companies, bearing in mind there were about 300 other competitors at the time. Because this pre-built software was available, it was such a low barrier to entry for people to get started with their own Instagram software platform, which resulted in, so my lawyer just said, you just don't stand a chance. They will bury you in paperwork and they will bankrupt you. So even though I was making good money at the time compared to one of the largest companies in the world, it's obviously absolutely nothing. And she also said that they would extradite me, and they were coming at me for criminal charges for breach of a private computer network. Bearing in mind, we were just using automation built on top of, I hadn't even built this, it was a pre-built package, but our servers were performing automated activity on Facebook, and they classified this as breach of a private computer network, which carries a prison sentence. So it wasn't really a route that I wanted to go down. Facebook also asked for all of the profit that I had made, which just simply it just wasn't even possible to do, even if I wanted to, because of course I'd spent on marketing, I'd paid myself and just spent money, paid myself a salary, and taken money out of the business. So there was no way it would have been possible to give back all their money. So over a period of like negotiation, it went on for about 6 months. I'll be honest, it was really quite a stressful period, especially for like a 21-year-old. Like when this letter like came through, it was completely unexpected. I literally like fell back off my chair and had I guess like a state of shock, right? Everything was going so well for me, and this was like completely unexpected. So the lesson that I really learned from this, because one mistake I did make, is I was constantly reinvesting my money back into the business because had such great return on investment. I was sort of doubling anything that I put back into the company. It made complete sense to me. Oh, we're printing out money, let's have as much money in there as possible. But in fact, that was probably a big cause of like the downfall. If I had gone much more slow and steady, not being so aggressive on marketing, and ran this campaign for a couple of years, because not all of the other competitors were shut down. Some of them are still running to this day. If I had taken a much more slow and steady approach, and also focused on paying myself a salary, so withdrawing a healthy amount from the business, keeping the campaign running, but not being so aggressive, making sure that I'm looking after myself, I would have been in a much better position. Whereas instead, I was investing as much money back into that company as possible every month. And I was just leaving myself with like $1,000, $2,000 in the bank and reinvesting everything. When Facebook shut down that business, they gave me like 3 days to shut everything to a halt. So I withdrew 3 days worth of revenue, and that was basically all that I got away with. So that is why, and it's also part of the reason I sold this company that I recently did now, just a couple of weeks ago, was because I didn't like having everything tied up within the business. I've been down that road before, and it ended very, very negatively. If I had actually focused on paying myself and looking after myself, paying myself $20,000, $30,000 per month and halving the rate of growth that I saw in the business, I would have ended up in a much, much stronger position. And also taking care of yourself in the short term. It's good to think about long term and to be prepared and so on, but often there are just things that are completely unforeseen that you do everything that you can to prepare for these situations, but you just simply can't think of everything, and there can be some unexpected event, like whatever it could be, like what we've seen recently with a pandemic, or there could be anything that shuts down your business, which is why I think it's so important that you make sure that when things are going well for you, you think about the long term as well, and don't do any like rash decisions that are going to put the long term, the future of your business in jeopardy. But you also, when things are going well, you make sure that you're looking after yourself, you're paying yourself a salary, you're taking money out where you can, just in case things do go wrong. Is, in my opinion, it's a foolish move to not look after yourself, to keep putting money back. And I learned this lesson the hard way, right? This is talking from experience. It can happen to anyone. And even now in my businesses as well, I prepare for things that could possibly go wrong and try to protect myself as much as possible, but you cannot protect yourself from every possible outcome. So make sure that you're looking after yourself. Other than that, I think some other key points that I would really like to make on this is to take risks. I remember when I first bought this software for $400 or $500, I was thinking to myself, would I make this money back? Would it be something that I can actually profit from? And obviously it turned into, because that was a lot of money for me at the time, and obviously it completely paid off. The other thing I would say is don't get caught up in your own opinions and mindset towards things. When I first started this, I would not have believed that someone would spend $40 per month, let alone $120 per month. And at the start, I was really quite shocked when these customers were coming in. $40, it was because I didn't have any money at the time. $40 is a very small amount of money, it really is. And there were people a lot richer out there than you who are in very different situations. So test your pricing. Pricing is generally something which is quite emotional, and we come at it from like our own standpoint. Funny enough, one of the least tested aspects on most e-commerce sites, particularly in the software as a service industry, is pricing. People just sort of make it up at one point when they're first setting up the company and just sort of go along with it. But it's a terrible, terrible strategy. So test out pricing, go higher, and often you will find there's a really good book called Selling to the Affluent, I believe it's the name, where it talks about selling to like the higher classes of society, the people who have money, and how it can often lead to more revenue, working with clients who are just easier to work with in quite a lot of ways, because if they don't value the money quite so much, they're not so focused on getting like a return on investment. And like often you'll find, in fact, in pretty much every business that I've had, that the customers who spend the most money are the easiest to work with, which is just something quite interesting to know. So it's something to be wary of. By trying to go for like the cheaper customers and think that you're doing yourself a favor by coming in as one of the cheaper products on the market, you may actually be shooting yourself in the foot. And often it can be more powerful to come in with something more expensive, and rather than someone thinking, oh, why is this product so cheap? It must be because they've cut corners on things, or the quality isn't as good as the higher level services, which is generally what most people will think. Instead, if you take the opposite direction and charge more than the market, people will just, it's a cognitive, I really think it's like a cognitive bias where value is associated directly on price. So if you charge higher than the average market value, people will just immediately look at you and think, why is this service more expensive? It must be better, regardless of it being better or not. And you did, like I said, I didn't even make any changes to the product at all, to the service people were receiving, but there was a difference in the number of sales that we had. And I personally noticed, not through any type of data tracking, but I was the one who was handling all of the customer support. I personally noticed like a very big difference between the type of complaints, the volume of complaints that the lower cheap customers have, the ones who are on the lowest plan or who joined from the start, compared to the ones who were paying like the highest amount. And the people who were paying more money were like much easier to work with, and if they did have a complaint, it would tend to be a much more reasonable, maybe isn't something like more like reasonable complaint or something like that. Whereas often when you're selling to like the bottom, the cheapest levels of the market, you're selling to people who are expecting everything for nothing. Whereas the higher levels of the market, often I found they're looking for like a much more specific solution. They're very happy when they get it, and they have money, so they are happy to spend that money if you solve a problem for them. They're, in my opinion, they're the type of people that that you really, really want to be working with. Yeah, I think that's like the main takeaways I have. Nonetheless, it was an interesting journey. I have absolutely no regrets about it at all. I did end up losing my access to Facebook for life, as well as an Instagram account that I had with, was it about 47,000 followers, I believe, when it got banned, my personal Instagram. But I'll actually make another video on that at another point, actually, how that was more of a positive than a negative, being kicked off with Instagram. Anyway, I think I'll end it there. Thank you very much for watching. Any questions, feel free to leave a comment. But for anyone looking to start a business, I think the skills that I learned then apply more so today probably than they did back then. So learning some basic website development so you can build your own websites, and having an understanding of how to buy traffic to those websites, and then researching deeper and deeper into conversion rate optimization. The only two skills that you really need are conversion rate optimization and understanding how you can profitably buy traffic to a website. It will make you super valuable to any organization that you choose to apply for or to work with. It's the two things that every company pretty much every company will want, you being able to bring them in customers, and you then being able to optimize the price point that they pay to bring in new customers. As a marketer, you'll do very, very well with just those two skills, but it also opens up the door for you to build your own products, your own business, which is the route that I would recommend that you take, because you've solved the biggest problem, which is profitable customer acquisition. It's a problem that every single startup has, right? So if you're able to master those two skills, and you could explore some other different channels for marketing as well, but personally it's my recommendation. There's so many resources online for learning Google Ads, and as well there's a ton of resources now on conversion rate optimization. Back when I was starting in this, it wasn't quite so big, and it was much harder to come across like the type of content and knowledge that is out there now. So yeah, that's my recommendations. As always, any questions, leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. I actually did a write-up blog post of this before that went viral on Reddit, but yeah, always interested to hear people's thoughts and opinions. Thank you for watching, take care, and have a great day.